Well, unfortunately, it's not just Toronto that is seeing an increase in gun violence. Brampton is as well. And one Brampton mother says that this needs to be tackled at the root where the guns are, and is calling for the city of Brampton to have an amnesty program that would also pay people for turning in their guns. It would not just be a no questions asked kind of thing. They'd get $100 a handgun, $50 per long gun. Charmaine Williams, mom of 5 and small business owner, says money's a big motivator. And it works. She's running for city council there in the upcoming municipal election. They've got one as well this October. So this is going to be a political issue too. I can see it now. How do we deal with gun violence? And is a gun amnesty perhaps a good idea? We've had some in the city. In fact, we had one not long ago provincially. 2,000 guns were turned in to police services across Ontario. So the guns can come in. Does that reduce gun crime, though? Is this something that we should consider? And should people be paid for doing it? Joining us now to talk about that is Joseph Neuberger, 640 Toronto's criminal law expert. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm curious because sounds like a lot of guns came in the last time, but gun crime is still going up. So tell me from your experience, do gun amnesties work?
Yeah, they do. I think it's an excellent idea. People who are maybe on the marginal lines of involved in crime, or those who are involved, do get motivated by some financial gain and an amnesty where they will not be held accountable for anything they do. And in fact, colleagues of mine have assisted actually in clients turning over firearms. So I think this is a very smart, effective approach to use in a collaborative manner with other steps to be taken by provincial and local authorities. So I'm definitely in favor of it, and paying, $100 or even $200 is a small price to pay, given the overall cost that we spend on policing and healthcare when it comes to individuals who are injured. Never mind the tragedy and damage to families when there's something which is much more tragic, resulting in a death.
Right. I mean, we're spending a lot of money on initiatives to combat gun violence. It seems that this, price here, you look at 2,000 guns, even at $100 a gun, that wouldn't be near the $4 million that we're spending on those surveillance cameras and stuff. So, is there a threshold money-wise, though, where you need to be to give an incentive? Do we know anything about that in terms of getting people to turn these things in?
Well, I don't think we have any hard evidence about that or any study, but, some nominal amount of money, I think, makes a difference. $100, $200, I don't think we can spend a lot of money on that because we're really incentivizing this type of thing for the inappropriate reasons. But saying, look, we'll compensate you, we'll give you some cash to be involved in this project, I think is fine. So $100 or $200 would make sense to me.
Yeah, that's what they do in San Francisco. $100 for handguns. They also give $200 for assault rifles because it's America. So I guess they get a lot of those in.
Oh, yeah. And this should be run. It's not like we should do this on a yearly basis or bi-yearly basis. It should be running all year round in conjunction with other steps that were taken. Like now we have more officers who will be on the streets during hours, I guess, between 7 p.m. and 3 a.m., which is, I think, a crucial component. So let's use a number of strategies in order to combat gun crime in our streets in Toronto.
All right, over to some white-collar crime, though, which is getting a lot of people upset because the people involved in it, allegedly involved, will not be going to court. A $13 million fraud case has been stayed now. The charges are stayed because there's no judge who's available for trial. And this is something we've been hearing about a lot, that our courts, the Jordan decision that we've talked about on this show before, which mandates that cases have to be heard within a certain period of time, or else the rights of the accused are prejudiced and you throw out the charges. Now, though, it seems that the problem might actually lie not simply within the regular wheels of the justice system, but there are too few judges being appointed by the federal government. Love your perspective on this. What's the piece there that's missing, and what should be done about it?
Yeah, I've tried to explain sometimes when I've addressed this issue that we're not looking at necessarily the actions of Crown attorneys or defense lawyers in the system. What we are lacking is a true investment in the infrastructure. Government loves to talk tough on crime. It's very politically expedient. The problem is they can't or won't invest the dollars in the system. And we are seeing this at various levels, including chronic underfunding of legal aid, but more significantly, the lack of appointment of federally appointed judges to the Superior Court in Ontario. Right now, there are 16 vacancies. Within 9 months to a year, the vacancies will be higher, maybe 20 to 28 vacancies. And you need judges who are experienced. And if you want some to run criminal trials, you're going to need judges who have a fairly healthy experience and skill at criminal law. So you're going to want judges who have a robust practice and now are willing to be appointed to help out with this backlog, and they can jump right in to run trials. But the government is extremely slow in appointing judges, and they make, and I've been very critical, unfortunately, of the federal government steps when it came to preliminary inquiries. It's absurd. Preliminary inquiries do not result in significant delays in criminal cases. Sometimes they're incredibly important and shortened cases. So it's just an optic. It's a cosmetic change which will have little to no impact. We need resources. We need judges. Crown attorneys need some more resources. Legal aid needs more resources. There needs to be a concerted effort investing in the infrastructure of the criminal justice system. Otherwise, it will not get better.
Yeah, I'm wondering, though, with the judges piece, why they are not appointing them. Because I used to sit on a committee years ago that was charged with vetting potential appointees for the Tax Court of Canada. And we would meet regularly. We got a lot of people wanted to be a judge. They'd send in their applications, pick me kind of thing. And it seemed to me that the process worked relatively well. But like I said, that was about over 10 years ago. I'm wondering if it has changed, or what, where's the sticking point for the government, when I'm sure a lot of people would be happy to, and probably do, put their name forward for a judgeship.
Yeah, so let's look at that from two aspects. One, I do commend the Liberal government because the appointment process that they put in is very similar to the provincial process. So it's a bit more transparent and it is more merit-based. So, you might have concerns 10 years ago as to how people are being appointed and why. I think some of the recent appointments to the Superior Court have been absolutely excellent decisions, totally based on merit. But it's extremely important to scrutinize applications because although you are a lawyer and you're applying, it doesn't mean you would make a good judge. And in particular, we have a backlog of criminal cases. And somebody who has a very good legal acumen probably will be able to handle civil, commercial, family law, or whatever area you sit in, but also criminal, and having the right breadth of experience, because these people need to jump right in and be able to do the pre-trials and do the trials in an effective manner and know how to handle motions, etc. So we need to have the right skilled people appointed to these positions. I don't know if it's money. I don't know if it's a backlog in trying to assess the individuals, because maybe it's more a labor-intensive process. But we need to work through that because that is the key to trying to get things moving.
It is. And in this particular case that's now drawing attention, I'm just going to put some details out there because I think this is the kind of thing that will get people very angry. Maybe it will provoke enough of an outcry to get the government to take some action. 5 men accused in a fraud case that was tossed out this week were alleged to have developed an investment program, quotes unquote, that raised $13 million from investors on the promise their investment would be used to provide small businesses with startup capital. Basically, it sounds like a bit of a pyramid scheme because the money was then used to pay commissions and salaries of the men and their companies. And the investors basically got left out in the cold. The individuals, they were supposed to go to trial last year. And there was an application for a stay of charges. It was dismissed. And the judge found the case was sufficiently complex to go beyond the Jordan guidelines. But then the trial didn't happen. And 3 of the accused got an adjournment to retain lawyers, and a new trial date was set for this year. And then it was decided that the only time they'd actually be heard would be April of 2019, and it was too long to wait. I mean, this kind of thing, I think, is the sort of thing that makes people just go slightly bananas because it's a big amount of money involved. And it sounds like these people might have also gamed the system in the sense of asking for delays because they know the Jordan decision is there. Does that happen now? And what can we do about that?
Okay, so defense, an accused cannot be responsible for creating delay. So if there's any thought at all by the listeners that if an accused stalls the process long enough, they'll benefit from Jordan, that's not the case. If they are the ones dragging their feet and causing undue delay, so without any merit, that time cannot be used to count for the Jordan time. This has to be based upon institutional or Crown delay. It's pretty clear on that topic. But they did bring an application. It was dismissed. The case was decided to be complex, so you could go beyond those time limits. And then because of the restrictions in the court and the complexity of this case, there was nobody available until April 2019. And that puts it so well beyond the Jordan guidelines that a stay is merited in this case. Now, this again is still the rarity. There are thousands of cases that are litigated across the province. The Ontario Court of Justice.
Oh, I think we lost you, Joe. Yep, I think we just lost your phone connection. I know you're connected. I don't hear you, but I'm assuming you were going to say that there are thousands of cases that are actually being heard, and that's where I wanted to go with this, because ultimately what we really don't want to see is the confidence of the public in the justice system being undermined. If you can still hear me, I'm just wondering if you would comment on that.
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. No, and we shouldn't, because, like you said, thousands of cases are heard. 90% of the cases are going through without difficulty, but there are complex cases that are struggling through the system. And one of the other ways to deal with it is we have, unfortunately, a lot of murder cases set for trial, and instead of necessarily running them as judge and jury, some defense lawyers are asking for the cases to be run judge alone, like the recent Millard case. We need the Attorney General to consent to that, and that would expedite cases. So there needs to be a coherent plan, a little bit of flexibility in trying to move the system along. But by and large, everybody should have great confidence in our criminal justice system. If they want to spend time down at the courthouses, it's run smoothly, civilly, and appropriately with an eye on protecting the public, but also fairness to the accused to ensure a fair trial.
All right. I want to thank you so much for your time and expertise, as always, on this and other issues. Joe Neuberger is 640 Toronto's criminal law expert. Have a great weekend, Joe.
You too. Take care.